That face that is usually covered by her phone has finally made an appearance.
You get on their bad side and they'll destroy you.
No one would miss me.
That's not true. I would.
Yeah, just a dream. Bang.
we're live, Stephanie, with all of our 0 viewers right now.
What's that other screen we're seeing?
That is, it looks like they're waiting room,
Oh, it's
probably.
that.
Oh, how dare you? All
it's
right,
that laptop.
I should probably. So just so you guys know, we're doing a little, like, I think, backfill on a previous episode about products. So if you want to start, Stephanie.
Yes.
1 second. You guys were way too fast. All right. Mariah, if you can hear me, if you can tell me what to tweet, waiting for the broadcast. How come I can't share this? Okay, share via. You think she could probably hear us, right?
I don't know.
Well, Mariah, if you can hear me, if you could text me what you want me to repost, that would be. I just wrote your name, Mariah. Join us live now. Liggin now. These guys are like, why the hell did we start with these people not ready? 1 second, guys. I'm just posting to the socials medias. Share via. It looks really good what they have. I don't know if you can go to bulugroup.com. Or I'm sorry, if you can go to the LinkedIn page. It's pretty cool what they made. Shouts to Grindstone, as always, for making some awesome content. Join incoming. Thank you, Mariah. Okay. Should we do the thing?
Let's do it.
Okay. So, again, we're just, let me see, waiting for broadcast. Just so the dudes in the booth know, it says that they're still waiting on LinkedIn. As I'm on LinkedIn, it says that we're still waiting, like, for the broadcast to go live, but maybe that's just me. Okay. We wanted to talk about product to backfill some stuff. How are you doing today, Stephanie?
I'm really doing good.
Yeah.
It was a really good week.
I'm doing great. It was
Eventful.
Eventful. It was I feel like we grinded through. Grindstone, shut up. I feel like we grinded through a lot of issues, which is good.
Yes.
It's always good. It's
And
always exhausting.
We solved a lot of things. You solved a lot of things.
We did.
Some big things.
We did.
I feel like our team is like fully loaded to really, truly tackle the year.
Yep.
You know, like we've got a couple missing pieces of the puzzle and now we're ready.
Yes, I would agree. So that always feels very good. Mariah says we're live on LinkedIn for another recording. Okay, cool. Let's do this, and then I'll just make sure I post it.
Okay.
Also, Mo, if you have access to my social, feel free to post anything as well.
All right. Okay, so let's talk about how Bulu develops boxes.
How
we
do we
create
develop boxes?
Well, so we already started talking about this. This is for the people in the back.
Yes.
We're beefing up last week's, 2 weeks ago, our recording. So this is what I think would be interesting to talk about, right?
Yep.
So let's start with you, Paul.
Yep.
What is, before all of this subscription box work that we've started doing, what was your experience in developing products and creating products?
So thanks, Mo. Sorry. Can you start that over?
Prior to all of this subscription box world that we've been in for the last, oh my God, nearly 10 years, 9 years. What type of experience did you have in product development, creating products, bringing them to market, et cetera?
Yeah. So I think, the first kind of experiences that I had were a lot of, we're going to run an ad campaign, and it was a small local agency where we first started working together. It was called the Minnow Project. And there was a lot of, this happens a lot where I think, companies are like, hey, we need to increase revenue. We kind of have this product, but everybody always wants more sales now, right? Like that is it. And that is, yes, I hear you, but you know, what is the step to get there? And so many times it's like a new product, good or service, obviously, right? And so probably one of the earliest ones that I remember is Spilker Ales, right?
Yeah.
And you know, they had some beer, and our company was doing a logo, and so many times you see the like integration of the brand, you know, the flavor of the beer, which was really hoppy, meld into the name, which is Hopalooya, which melds into like the branding and the campaign and everything. And that's super cool, right? So I'd say probably Smart Chicken and Hopalooya are the earliest things I can recall.
Yeah.
So chicken and beer. And then one of probably my favorites, or the one that will always be the nearest and dearest to me, was the Good Company, which had absolutely it didn't see the light of day. But the cool thing about that was, you know, a company approached us, or actually, no, we approached them. I had to do like 100 push-ups to get a pitch, I think, with them.
What?
Yeah. I think their CEOs
Who does
like,
this?
yeah, like, oh, you call me on a Friday at 7. Like, you know, what are you willing to do? And I was like 100 push-ups or maybe 10 or whatever. And so it's kind of a joke, but I actually did it because I will do anything to get in the door. And, you know, they basically said, we have this really awesome milk, but we don't, it's all white labeled. We don't know how to make it a direct to consumer brand, which is super common, right? Like
Sure.
we make something for somebody else. We want to have our own brand, because if they nix us, like what
do we do with all this milk?
Right? And so, you know, went to the store. I always think people miss the most basic step is like, go to the damn store and look at the thing on the shelf, or take it with you, or at the very least take a picture of the shelf you want it on and like superimpose it there. Because like that's really the only area that it matters. And so we I think we tried the milk together, and we were like, oh shit, this is way better. What's the difference? And you learn all about the milk process or whatever. And then you know, ask a few questions, and we learn there's ice cream and there's all this other stuff. And, you know, I think, so I guess the answer is, I really tend to focus on listening to whatever it is the person or entity wants, and then understanding. Most people would be like, you know, does it fit what the customer wants or whatever? But I think it's more about the experience, because I think so many times people don't know what they want. They can't articulate what they want. And I think with the Good Company, which we developed the brand and the whatever, like all you really want to do, at least this was my belief, with zero research budget, zero anything, is you want to open your fridge and you want to, you know, in my case, or a lot of people's case, you know, just like a gulp of milk to get the cookie crumbs out of your mouth or whatever it is, right? And you just want that small microsecond of a experience of like, oh, that's good milk. Because you never, and the idea like of the product was like, you never say like, oh, that's great milk or that's amazing milk. Like milk, the best it can be is good, right? And good means it tastes good.
Good for
means
you.
It's good for you.
Yeah.
Good means it's hasn't expired and it's bad.
Right.
And I could not, out of all the people that I asked, you know, get them to say anything but, you know, oh, like there's good milk. There's just good and bad milk. There's nothing.
Yeah.
And so that really was the epiphany of, okay, good milk. What does that mean? And then we ended up rolling into like Good Company, and then good ice cream, good. So good was the word for all the boring dairy products. But I think the real, which was cutting edge, my God, what was that, 15, 20 years ago?
Yeah.
Oof. It was a percentage of all the profits will go to a good cause. And that was just like super groundbreaking at the time.
Yeah.
And I think that, you know, if you're, you know, probably has something to do with like being very visual, you just tend to obsess a little bit about the product, and you know, the ad campaign's great, but like, how does that actually work with the product? And everywhere that I've worked, I've always just fallen into product development, and whether it was forcefully or whether it was just naturally, like, you know, I was working on a project for Adidas, and it was like, I honestly, this might have not even been my idea. But it was like, oh, wouldn't that be cool if like, you know, we did like a bone, like the Nebraska Cornhuskers, like throw the bones or whatever. And I think it was somebody else's idea, but
Comment below if it was your idea.
Yeah, it was probably
Paul's
Shane.
taking credit for your idea, guys.
I'm just gonna default to like it was either Shane Yoakum or Eric Niffler or Bennett Holsworth. But I do remember that, and I have also firm belief on this. Like the best ideas are laughed at first because there's something about it where it's like a little bit awkward or people don't know how to react, and it's not good or bad. It's like, oh, that's funny. Yeah, how funny would that be if like, you know, throw the bones, you got bones on the actual sweater. And I always feel like there's two moments in product development that you wait for. One is if you're talking about a scenario and somebody goes, that is a headache that somebody has that they don't want to deal with. And you can fix that. And the other is the chuckle, like, oh, that'd be cool. Like, and then, and you know, that is the door. Both of those that literally listen for when people in life every day go, ah. And if somebody says something and they're like, that's funny. And then, or we can't do that. Can we do that? Those are doors that present themselves every day to people, but you just don't hear or see them. And then, you know, just I worked at Complete Nutrition, and it was like, hey, just slap together this, you know, vitamin and supplement line, and it's just another vitamin. And you're like, well, who's this going to? And it's like 30-year-old dudes. And you're like, what do 30-year-old dudes reminisce about? 80s music. Let's name it after like an 80s band. Like what's the dumbest 80s band? And that wasn't my idea. That was Scott Rosa.
Stop taking credit for other people's ideas.
Well, you're
teasing.
I think there's product ideation, you know, there's invention and there's innovation. And I don't think I'm the guy that comes up with stuff out of thin air. I think I'm the guy that hears something and says, wait, let's hear what that person has to say about that. Yeah. Keep going. Oh, and I'm like the and then guy, right? Yeah. And then it's like, okay, that's good enough. Let's put that in people's hands. And it's like, we can't do that. Can we do that? I'm like, I don't know. Let's find out, you know, which, you know, honestly, I think ideas are a dime a dozen. Execution is hard. So I would actually argue, you know, there's great ideas. And then there is like impossible execution. And that, you know, Drew Neiser from Renegade Marketing told me one time, ideas are 1% and it's 99% of execution. And that's what separated, you know, in New York, the Renegade marketers team. He's like, we execute, we do it. Yeah. And we live with the outcome. So I could ramble on more, but yeah, I don't know. I really love it. Probably the thing that I love most about product development is, and you've seen me do this, I will just wander retail stores aimlessly forever. And I effing love gas station, truck stops. Oh, they have the craziest shit ever in truck stops.
Like candy aisle, like innovate weird new candies and stuff.
No, I'm talking about the why did they put a wizard and a hamster and a snow globe and then package a knife with it? Like, what the hell's that about? And kind of like just going like, why does this exist? And they're, you know, another
because people like you buy it.
well, I think that, you know, the other interesting, I think, really huge, simple tip. There's two things, I guess, that I would leave before I want to ask you the same question, because I love to leave people with like concrete things that they can do. One thing that I found super helpful is you simply go to retail and you look at how some people call it spins or some people call it how deep or whatever, but you can tell a good product. And I do this. I purchase wines, deodorant, like stuff that's kind of common. I look for this stuff that there's only a couple of it left. Almost every single time it's because, you know, a group of people know something about it. Very rarely is it like, oh, we're out of stock of that product. So, you know, I encourage people, if you're in product development, let's say you're doing deodorant, go to the deodorant aisle and look for the deodorant that doesn't have very many deodorants left on the shelf, and then try to understand what the unique selling benefit is versus everything else. That I think that's the fastest way to figure out what's working. And the other thing is, and one, as for example, is that makeup actually leads, well, last research that I read, which was years ago, but makeup is a leader to the vitamin and supplement industry. So like makeup decides, okay, we're all about vitamin E now. We're all about fish oil. We're all about whatever the thing is. So if you find these industries that lead each other, right, we would go to the makeup aisle and we would look and see what women are purchasing, right? Yep. And so you go there and you see like, oh, all these like cases of Maybelline that's in a packet that Velcro's open, these are gone almost everywhere. Why is that? How do we take that and translate it to the vitamin and supplement aisle, right? And those I think are two of the quickest, easiest hacks. And maybe I'm full of shit, but I will just say like it worked. It's worked multiple times for me, whether it was New York or Nebraska. So yeah, I mean, that was a very long answer, but I clearly get super geeked up about like consumer packaged goods. It's fascinating to me. So what is your experience with product development?
Well, I mean, you and I worked together on, and even before Bulu. So like those projects you mentioned, I worked on those, all of them. Yeah. I worked on Spilker Ales with you. I worked on Good Milk with you. And then even when you mentioned, I was waiting for you to mention.
There's so many good ones.
Your experience in the vitamin and supplement product development, because you guys developed a lot of really innovative products. And I was kind of, in the passenger seat working alongside you from an agency when you guys were doing that. But I got to be somewhat a part of that and bringing those to market. And there was a lot of innovative things and following the makeup industry. So I think we covered most of them. So I think we talk about Bulu Box and how we developed the product for Bulu Box.
That was going to be my next question is, well, actually, my first question is, just because I think it'll be fun to talk about, is what was going through your head, or do you recall when we did the national award winning, multi-awarded, still in some history book for advertising, the Spilker Hobbs, aka the heat activated urinal billboards.
Yes.
I remember that.
Well, now
vividly.
you're just getting into advertising, right?
But I would argue that it was a product, because since then people have there's actually a company now that like sells those ads to do. Yeah. So it was the advertising idea that became a product, which is not unheard of, right? Yeah. Arguably, subscription boxes are direct mail that have become a product, right? So,
So there's these things called heat activated urinal billboards, which basically, so Paul and I, we were like, okay, this new small brewery, comes out with this beer, and we want to make sure like people are aware of this beer at bars, etc. And we're like, okay, well, when they're at the bar and guys go to the bathroom or whatever, they've got however long it takes guys to pee, 20, 30 seconds of
whatever.
How long?
Hercules.
I have no idea. A minute.
2 seconds.
Where we have their kind of undivided attention.
Shouts to Marcus.
So what? I don't even know what that means.
I know.
We've got your undivided attention for however long it takes you to pee. Right. So there's a billboard placed in the actual urinal that has some funny saying, and then when you pee on it, it reveals a message.
Heat activated urinal billboard.
So
do you remember how that came about?
No.
We were having a brainstorm, and somebody was adamant about lithograms were really popular at the time.
Yeah. This is so long ago.
And for an hour,
this is like 2006.
Yeah, for an hour we all like argued about like how expensive lithograms were, and we were pretty new, and I was like, why don't we just call somebody? And I Googled, and I asked them about lithogram, and it was like insanely high because they were like these high detail. And I was like, well, what else you got? And the guy's like, well, we got these like heat activated paper, and I was like, that's interesting. Like, put your hand on a beer and, reveal your name or something like that. And, who knows where it went to.
How we ended up like, what if you peed on it?
Yeah, probably me. That sounds about
Sounds about right.
Yeah. That one I will take credit for. But the thing that I loved is it wasn't just like PNC logo. It was like you peed on them, and then it was like a burning house.
Yeah, so it was like, so what you saw
You sank my battleship.
before you peed on it was a burning house, and then when you peed on it, it was like everybody was safe.
like that.
So it was like, be the hero.
Yeah.
Go get
Sink a
Spilker ales, or
Yep.
something like that.
Yep.
Ambassador.
Which inevitably I do remember somehow it came back to like, but yeah, are these driving sales? And you're like, oh my God, let me go survey people why they're taking a piss. Like, I don't know. Nobody was talking about it before. Everybody's talking about it now. I'm pretty sure we paid for, what was the budget? $500 worth of,
It's hard to measure back then. This was before like social media and things like people were doing actual billboards and newspaper ads. Oh my
also,
God, we're
there's
so old.
some things
We're
that
so
are
old.
just branding and you can't measure them. You just got to assume 0.25% is like purchase. Like, just get over it. Just, I'm not going to QR code something. Like, just stop it with your silliness. So Bulu box.
Bulu box.
Okay, so how? I want to go back to like, I tell you,
10 minutes. Just
Yep. So we decide to quit and we sit down at Pete's Coffee in San Francisco and, we're talking about the product or whatever, or like what comes to mind. Cause if you asked me, like, tell me about the product development, like I really remember a day in Pete's Coffee where I think you said like, are you asking or telling? And I was like, I think I'm telling, but like, let's just get the site up and like, let the users kind of tell us, but and then there's another specific time that
the very first version of Bulu box, just like you mentioned before with, vitamins and supplements follow the makeup industry.
It was called Superbox, Stephanie.
Superbox, whatever we called it before. You and I were following a subscription box, a sample box for makeup. And we're like, let's do that in vitamins and supplements. So we did what we knew, what you knew from previous employment. So that was where it kind of started. And I think we mostly focused on just general health and probably like sports nutrition. Yeah. And we put up to 5 sample products into a box.
I mean, we were just taking whoever would give us samples. So we were like, vitamin and supplement box, which doesn't really solve a problem.
Yeah. And then we were putting them in a box, and then the idea was we get feedback, and we keep doing that each month, and we are driving people to then go buy the full-size product.
Right.
But not long into that, we started gathering feedback, and Paul, you were the one pushing. You're like, okay, our customers are telling us.
Oh my God, yeah.
They want a box specifically for weight loss. And so then we started putting in like meal replacement bars and, things like that.
Do you remember before the whole like leading up to like, I was like, I think we need to do like a weight loss box, and like nothing was gaining traction. Do you remember what I did?
What did you do?
I just went to Walmart and I bought a bunch of weight loss stuff, and I was like, take a photo of that and put it on the website, and it really pissed off everybody. Cause I was like, I was like, we need to do like a weight loss, and I was like, yeah, whatever, Paul. And I'm like, no, like this isn't working what we're doing. And I was like, well, let's, build out this thing. And it just, I don't know, like probably rightfully so. Everybody was busy working on something. And I was like, oh my God, how do I get this done? And I went to Walmart. I even kept the receipt, and we shot photos. I just remember like, do I put a jump rope in it? Fuck it, I guess I put a jump rope in it. And it was this display, and it was like, how are we ever going to get those products? And I was like, I don't know, but at least if we put it on the website, we're going to understand if people are clicking or whatever on it. And like instantly, everybody was like, I want that thing, not this thing.
Yeah, yeah.
But like the whole just like, screw it, just go put a photo in front of people and see what they say. Yeah. And I mean, when we were creating the box, which, the product development, when you've got a sample box, is really curation, right? You're reaching out to existing companies with existing products saying, hey, you should sample in this box, and here's why. Yeah. But in the beginning,
we didn't have a really great value proposition to companies on why they should give us their samples.
Yep.
Over time, we got better at that. So in the beginning, it just kind of became like whatever we can get our hands on.
Yeah.
And then put it together in the most thoughtfully curated way that we could. But eventually over time, we got to where we had a really good value proposition
Yes.
for partners. And
Yes.
like putting your sample in our box could clearly drive revenue,
It got
get you
people
new
on retail
customers, get you
shelves.
on more
Yeah.
retail shelves. Yeah, a lot of things. And that's a different podcast episode.
Yeah.
But as we did that, then when we had better access to more samples, you were probably the one that kind of pioneered this idea of every box needs to fill at least 3 criteria.
Yeah.
Taste, feel, wow.
Yeah.
And I mean, we had what we called a product matrix because there were 5 items in each box, and we had different versions: general, weight loss, male, female.
That was derived from like complete and some other stuff. So it wasn't like, again, it wasn't like epiphany. It was like innovation on previous knowledge.
Yes. So in every version of our box, men's weight loss, men's, general health, whatever, we needed to fill the criteria of something they could taste right away, something like a bar
Or
of some
smell,
sort,
crayons.
right? Something they could taste, something they could feel, so something that would like increase their heart rate, or
put them to bed.
even like a joint cream or something to help them.
Or
something
just like a
that.
roller muscle ball.
Right.
It's like keep them active while they're rifling through the box.
Something they could feel, and then something that made them say, wow. Like, oh, shit, they gave me a full-size version of this that's valued at a lot of money. Or like, what is this? This is an actual fitness
Inhalable
tracker.
caffeine, remember that?
Or, like something completely innovative that I've never heard about, and it was a product that was on Shark Tank, and it's inhalable caffeine. Yeah, so...
Arrow shots, put it in your mouth, pull the trigger.
Yes.
Oh, this is going to get some attention.
So as we were like rearranging the matrix and figuring out what products to put in which box, we're always evaluating based on the criteria of does it hit the taste, feel, wow.
Yeah.
And if it didn't, we needed to go find a product to slot into it.
And then the other 2 products were there to manage the weight, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's the part that's about a sample box that, I mean, especially if you have a sample box that's lightweight, the killer for your entire budget is if you get that box over a pound, because now suddenly your shipping costs double.
Yep.
So in our matrix, we are also, we have the weight for each sample.
Yeah.
And so we're tallying it up, and that's what makes it so difficult, because every piece has to fit perfectly. Because as soon as you're like, we got this one, this box is great, our customers are going to love it, we hit the taste, feel, wow, it's perfectly curated for men who have goals to lose weight.
Right.
And then we're like, oh shit, it's 18 ounces.
Yep.
And then we're back to the drawing board, and we've got
edges, get rid of the paper clip. And I think the nice thing about subscription boxes were unboxing videos. So, I probably obsessed about those a little bit too much. But you could just go onto YouTube and you can just hear people give feedback. And, the videos I didn't like is where they're really scripted and, people are doing the saying, versus there was a segment of people that were trying to mimic what the influencers were doing, and they weren't even close. And those were always the best ones, where it's like, some lady has her phone like this, it's shooting up her nostril, and she's like, oh wow, look at this and this box, and you're like, the lights are all scrred up, like, the videos that
was
you
that
probably
Tilly?
like,
Did I just hear you go into the voice of Tilly?
Probably. But that to me was more interesting because those people were more so actually closer to reacting versus like putting on a show of unboxing. And those videos were more telling than anything, because they could pull out 6 products and go, well, there's nothing in here. And they'd shake the box and you're like, void fill. Mm-hmm. They want void fill. They want the box to appear bursting out. It's not actually anything to do with the amount of products. It's about they shake the box and that pisses them off. Yes.
And here's the thing is that I'm glad you brought that up, because when I mentioned the Bulu box matrix and as we're evaluating, the other thing we evaluated on was perceived value.
Yeah.
And a big thing that contributed to a high perceived value was, did the box appear full?
Yeah.
So we would estimate the actual value, like literally, what is the value of this sample?
Right.
Like if you take the full size retail and you divide it by the serving size and how many servings you get in the sample, here's the value.
Yep.
And then we would do what's the perceived value.
Yep.
And so even if our actual value was like
Because what's a sample
double
worth?
the cost of the box
Right,
that we're
right.
charging,
Mhm.
and if all of the items were small and they just kind of sat in
Yeah.
the box, looked like in the corner of the box, it didn't matter. It didn't
Yep.
matter that the actual value was $20, but we were charging 10 because the perceived value is I got nothing inside of here. What is this?
It's like caviar. And it's like, what is this? It's just a little thing of fish eggs. And you're like, no, that's caviar, and here's why, right?
Yeah. So then we'd go back to the drawing board again. Like we've got to swap something out and put in a large like bar, like
Yeah.
a granola bar or something to help with the perceived value. So this looks substantial when
Yep.
they open it.
Yeah, I always will remember. I think the, product development, the thing that is so small, but I'm super proud of, and mostly because like just to watch Quest Nutrition blow up is, I had a conversation with I don't know the VP of innovation or something, and they just kept saying like it's about portability. Like we need drink sticks, we need this, we need that, we need the other thing, and I just am getting beaten over the head with like we need drink sticks, we need this. Like can you guys do that or whatever? But I just kept keying on the word portability. And then I was like, well, like, can you bake protein? Like, and what that evolved into was a little recipe book on top of Quest Nutrition, and portability ended up being like, I can make food with this and it's portable. And so, just being so sure that, what people want is to carry the protein with them in a drink stick. And you're like, say that again. What people want is to be able to take the protein with you. Stop. Does that solve it? And kind of chopping that up and then going like, well, you can accomplish that. And, when you bake a set of brownies, you just use a lot more protein. And so that's so, I don't know, that's so cool when those little nuanced things happen. And, nobody remembers who or how or where that came from, but like, that was like you that had it, 1% impact on that thing. And that's super cool and fun to see.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Another question. Last question, I think, for today. Knowing what you know now, after having worked on lots of subscription boxes, being a part of developing products for Shark Week, for Crayola, all these exciting things.
Mm-hmm.
Name drop, name drop, name drop. What would you do differently on Bulu Box? What would you go back and tell younger Paul and younger Stephanie? Less experienced Stephanie, less experienced Paul, on what you would do differently with Bulu Box?
Yep. I would tell us probably 2, maybe 3 things. The first is I know everything that you read and everything that everybody talks about says it's all about the customer loving your product. But I need to tell you, and that'd be shaking me, I need you to listen to me. It's like, yeah. If you don't understand logistics and cash flow, nothing else matters. And I know you think you can jack up the price of the box or whatever. And I always use the analogy of you can have the most amazing website, e-commerce site in the world, but if your servers aren't figured out, it doesn't matter because people are going to go there and get pissed and leave and never come back. And so that took us 4 years to really like understand that, subscription is all about the cash flow. Mm-hmm. And, if you aren't getting proper logistics, fulfillment, which is what we do, but it is not a plug, that's the truth, shipping, pricing, et cetera. If you aren't, monitoring that like a psychopath, like you're toast. It's a ticking time bomb, right? Yes. And then actually a big growth in sales can murder you, which it almost did once or twice before we figured it out. And God bless Hank Pfeiffer for, shining the light on that. Yeah. And then God bless everybody else that got us to the point to be able to, hire a Hank Pfeiffer, right? So that's the first thing is, you are first and foremost, thank you to Amazon, a shipping and logistics company, and you have to get that correctly. The second thing I would tell us specifically to Bulu Box is, people are only going to get about 15 to 20 samples before they're just like, my God, I'm not going to try all this stuff. And so, stop fighting churn and embrace it. Okay, what if we just get 3 boxes to people and they have 15 different samples, and then you attack them to buy and get replenishable full-size products? So, maybe we refer to it as marketingception. Maybe the thing that you're selling is actually the marketing device. Like just the same way that you spend money on advertising to attract people to your product to buy it, maybe you attract them with advertising, and then you attract them by making a low, non, or negative margin item in their hands. And then that opens up another world, because now you have all their information and you can upsell them, which is eventually what we did. And we, got people through advertising, through the box, collected their data, and then we started building out products for them to purchase. And it worked. It was just too little, too late.
Yep.
What about you?
So the one you mentioned came to mind first, which was, like I mentioned, the box always needed to be under £1. So we at least got that part right. Mm-hmm. But I think what we didn't understand then that we've now understood is how to secure even better shipping rates. We just kind of took them for what they were, right? And there's ways to get better rates. There's ways to change your box and do things differently to maximize that. And I think we probably left money on the table, not pushing harder on that stuff.
Yeah. You cannot accept what you're told. You cannot.
No.
You always have to push back. Even if you're wrong, it's better to default to fight and push back and really understand on a deep level why that pricing can't change.
Yeah. And that's what's so great about a subscription box is you're generally, not all subscription boxes, but generally you're shipping in one large bulk shipment each month.
Yeah.
And so there's ways to make that more efficient because you're not doing small batches every day, right? There's consolidators and there's just so many things. Yep. And I think it took us probably longer than it should to identify what some of those things are. And probably when we started working with other partners is where we really started to understand that on a deeper level. So I tell myself that, but then the other thing, this is more like a pat on the back, one thing we did right. And this is kind of impressive when you stop and remind yourself. In the 8 years or so that we ran Bulu Box, we secured millions of samples. Mm-hmm. Millions. I don't even know. 5 samples per box, and I don't know however many total boxes. Millions and millions and millions of samples.
Process, baby.
We never paid for a single one of them.
Yep. I think one time we paid for rush delivery on something.
Oh, for them to get it to us in time. Yeah, I think you might be right.
Yep. And everybody told us that wasn't possible. My God. Even when we're doing it, they're like, you can't do that. And I'm like, well, we're doing it. You won't be able to sustain it. I'm like,
and it's because we created, a program that helps the companies. They saw value out of it. And so we never had to pay for a sample. And meanwhile, there were lots of sample boxes who were paying for products because once they got on the market and started paying for boxes, everyone, when we were talking to them, kept saying, well, why don't you guys buy the stuff from me? Yeah. And we always stuck to our guns. Yeah. And I think even when that got hard, sometimes we stuck to it and we never paid for it. I'm really glad that we didn't cave there.
And to me, that just is a, testament to you get your marketing messaging, which we had a very specific way that we would talk to brands about sampling in Bulu. I'm not going to give it away. You can call me if you want it. And then, you get the process down, and we just knew that in order to get, 10,000, 5 samples at least 10,000 took 26 calls per week, and one person could accomplish that. And net, it was one person can get 250,000 free samples in a month. Mm-hmm. And, that's really hard to get to. And I remind myself, as we are now doing fulfillment for subscription boxes and specialty fulfillment for companies, it is a brutal reminder of how hard it is to get to that point. And sometimes it will take you years. and usually it's because you don't even know that you're trying to do that, and you think that you know because you read it, but then you go, oh my God, it's harder in a way that you can never describe. And that might be actually the thing that I go back and tell myself, if it was really truly just one thing, it would be, I don't care how tough you are. I don't care how, brilliant you think you are. I don't care about all of that. Starting a company and, trying to actually make it grow and do whatever, this will be the hardest thing in different ways that you have never expected, whether it's being tired, mentally exhausted, begging on your knees for somebody to give free samples, doing push-ups to get a pitch or whatever, hopping on a plane and breaking into Disney to get an answer on the URL. It is, and it's so hard that it's not even like worth trying to prepare yourself. You just execute, right? It's like, if you are going to get cut and you're going to need stitches, don't cry, don't worry about it. Just go get the stitches fixed and be done with it, Yeah. And that is, the thing that all entrepreneurs talk about and people talk about. I know we know that on a deep level. And the nice thing is that you do form resilience, you do form scar tissue, but you're going to get hit in ways like a pandemic that you never thought were possible. But the nice thing is you will develop a set of tools to get through them. And I think you and I have done that as co-founders. And I was listening to a podcast with the founders of Postmates. And that was one of the things that the founders were talking about. They just said, we were lucky enough to all get together. And in 10 years, we had the tools to kind of work with each other. Mm-hmm. And so I think that that's something, whether it's marriage or friendship or co-founder or like whatever, I'm really not intimidated by anything that will hit us because I know we have a set of tools to work our way through it. And that is probably the best thing that starting a company will ever do for us because it actually makes life kind of easy.
Easy.
You know what I'm saying though? Like
I know what you're saying.
It's still hard, but it's like I got the tools in my toolbox. And it doesn't have to be you. The tool might be I need to go ask for help.
Sure.
I need to go do this thing. Yeah. Did I just get philosophical?
You did. And I think we're supposed to be talking about product development, but we went off course.
If
we
humans
do that.
are a product, that's pretty good development.
Preach.
And this has been Philosophical Boxes. My name's Paul Gere. That's how all those philosophy podcasts go.
All right. I think that wraps it up for our
good luck editing that.
Mushing that together with the last conversation.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool. So I think it's 3:29 and we're about to bring on Patrick.
Was that what that one was intended to be, or were we supposed to have a whole full podcast?
No, we were supposed to add more content.
Okay,
about
so that wasn't
development.
supposed to be like another.
No.
Gotcha.
No, that was.
I'm going to use the restroom before we go.
Okay.
Oh, jeez, legs.
We aren't mic'd up. Are we supposed to be mic'd up?
That's a great question.
Hello, what's up, guys? Hi. Hey. Okay.
Assuming that there is a heaven, who would ever want to go there? You know? Think about it. It's cool, you're sitting there up on this cloud. It's nice, you know, it's quiet. There's no teachers, there's no parents. But guess what? There's nothing to do. Fucking boring.
Test. Test. Hello, how are you both? Ooh, that's brutal. Yeah, hearing your own voice while you're talking is. Cool.
It's all connected in the sense. It's all connected
だけどそれ以上にこう育っていって環境がそうさせてしまう。だから今は受け入れられる別のじゃないんです。
All right. You guys hear me?
Okay, real quick, do you have a hard stop in 15 minutes? Awesome. Well, hey, thank you so much. And just because I want to make sure, I've seen different variations. Patrick Martin Masher.
Masher. Make sure we got it right.
Okay. What's up? Marsher. Oh, great.
Oh.
Bangs together.
Now it's here for good.
Bangs together, Martin and Cheryl. Marsher. All right, should we get to any questions? We just kind of roll with it and let the editors do their magic. But we are and have been live, so we will. It's definitely like this is episode 7, and I've done a couple of podcasts, and my attitude is just grind the sausage in front of everybody, let them see it, and it's actually how you usually get a pretty good loyal base of followers. But just keep in mind you're live. We can't take back that stuff. If something really goes wrong, we can take down the post of that. And then, for the actual podcast and stuff, I really am impressed with Grindstone.
I mean, but Paul's the one that puts us at risk for that.
Oh, fuck yeah, I do. Hey. Yes, I am. That's my, Paulability.
Paulability.
And there's a reason, as I once stated in 3rd grade to my teacher, as I was getting a detention, I said, "Why do you think the word Paul is in apologize?" And it was a nun, and she busted out laughing.
That was so cute, and then it was fine.
And it got me out of trouble, and I was like, this works. Crack some inappropriate jokes. Yes.
That's how I ended up married to him.
Am I a joke to you?
I'm kidding. I'm done. I'm done with the cracks.
No, that was good. That was actually really good. More of that. Okay. Should we get going?
Let's go.
All right.
We're already going. You're going to hear Paul's podcast voice in 3, 2, 1.
This is, I forget, is it with or by Bulu?
With.
All right. Welcome to Box Talks with Bulu. I'm Paul.
I'm Stephanie.
And today on the show, we have Patrick Martin of Marsher, and my audio just went out in my ear. Can you hear anything, Stephanie?
Oh,
Son of a
we lost Patrick.
bitch.
We lost our audio.
That was such great timing. Hey, guys.
But that's okay because it's Patrick Marsden.
Marsden? Did I not say that?
I don't know. It got a little...
Marsden.
Couldn't tell for sure.
Marsden. I was focusing so much on Martin and Marsher. That visual in my head. Yeah. Hey, gang. Stephanie and I cannot hear Patrick. Good boy. Did you guys in the back hear that? We cannot hear Patrick, just so you guys know. If not, I'll come back there in 3. I think I heard somebody.
I'm guessing everybody can hear us.
I'm guessing they're scrambling right now.
Yes. Oh, there we go.
Hello? Are you there, Patrick?
Patrick's like, this is comedy.
Okay. Oh, wait. Hello? Yeah. Okay. Let's get back into it. Ready? Welcome to Box Talks with Bulu. I'm Paul Jarrett.
And I'm Stephanie Jarrett.
Today on the show, we have Patrick Marsden from Marsher.
Nailed it, Paul. Right?
Nice. Yeah, that's
you got it right, Patrick?
First take. Nice.
First time. You guys, you got it right the first time.
Thank you so much.
Let the record show.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you so much for joining us. Truly appreciate it. I feel like for some odd reason between email and this, like you're just kind of waiting on some stuff for me. So I am so sorry. Hopefully this podcast and all the great things that you'll benefit from it, which I don't know what they will be. But I appreciate you. And I remember our first phone call was way before the podcast was even close to being done. And I thought, man, there's something electric about this dude. I had not Googled you or anything. It was just, this was such a great conversation. I want to capture this and want other people to hear it. And, hopefully you feel the same way. And Stephanie's kind of like, wait, what? Wait, you know this guy? Wait, he's what? And then we looked online and I'm like, oh, he's got like, videos and YouTube and stuff like that. So that is fantastic. But Patrick, if you wouldn't mind, can you share with people a little bit, who you are, what you do, where you're from, and we could roll like that.
Hey, so the situation in the other room is the live stream just isn't working with this new setup we're trying to do.
That's fine.
Are you okay doing your recording, your podcast with this gentleman over Zoom, and then we'll release it later?
Perfect.
Yep.
We're
Yep.
really sorry about that.
Don't worry about it, man. You guys are good.
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead, Patrick.
Lots of editing.
Yeah.
Lots of editing.
Yeah.
We get our money's worth with the editing. These poor team.
So yeah, if you wouldn't mind telling us a little bit, who you are, what you do, maybe where you're calling us from, all that great stuff, and maybe a little bit about all that badass packaging in the back. Something like that.